What's up, everyone? I'm Daytwan Thomas, and welcome to the ASCAP experience. And today, we're talking to the incomparable, the most incredible Ashanti. How you doing, love?
Thank you.
What's
I'm
going
good.
on? I see the hoops.
You know, we still keeping very Strong Island, New York.
There we go. There we go. It's incredible to see that you're out here 20 years later after the record-breaking debut album. What are some of your thoughts when you just look back on what you've accomplished up until this point with this album?
I think some of my thoughts are being super blessed, super grateful. I had no idea, as a young female stepping into the game, writing, on my pen and pad in the corner on the floor of the studio, that it would turn into, my career today, 20 years later. I think that I'm just really thankful, again, sometimes when things come to you unexpected and like never in my wildest dreams, I just didn't know, I had no idea. I knew that I wanted to kind of do this once I got into it, but to be where I am today and get the same reaction from my music 20 years later is like, it's unreal. So I'm very grateful, to say the least.
And that reaction is like, when you perform it more so, because like seeing those Instagram clips, seeing what everybody, they be posting, they be in they bathroom doing their thing, you know what I mean? Like, what does that feel like to know that you have a part of people's heart? You just don't have the music with them, you have a part of their heart.
It's so funny. I was talking to my DJ last night and, we just got off a tour. We did London and we did arenas. And I'm just like, yo, it's really crazy for those people to come out and be screaming and crying, and you can drop all the music and hold the mic out and hear 15,000 people singing records that I wrote, over 20 years ago. Is just like, it's really, really humbling, and it's really a blessing. And I'm just so grateful. And it's a warm feeling.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
Like, you feel full, like, wow.
But leading up to it, I'm sure it's like the nerves and everything, to be out there in front of all those people. But then once you're out there, you just go into go mode.
What's crazy? I don't really get nervous for shows anymore, especially when it's my show, because I feel like there's so much love from the fans. They know what's up. You know what I mean? So I can get super comfortable. If my feet hurt, I'm taking my boots off.
You get on your patty, start kicking them out.
Exactly. When I get on stage, I feel like it's an extended family. You know what I mean? And I tell the fans that, like, I appreciate them so much. We're going through so much now, like still at the tail end of a pandemic, and to have people spending time and money to come see you perform, you know what I mean? Like that's
a lot.
It says so much, So again, I can't say it enough. I'm just really grateful. I'm blessed. I'm thankful. So it's an amazing feeling.
That's dope. Well, ASCAP wants to honor you, and with this, we're gonna go track by track and talk about each joint from that record breaking. That first week was what, over 500,000, but they have like 503, but it's probably more.
It's crazy because it was, some of the publications say 503, some say 504. I believe because it was dropped on a Tuesday or whatever it was, like them 4,000 still count, or those 2 extra thousand still count.
Every one of them count.
So it's amazing being a new artist and dropping new music, and for the album to get into the Guinness Book of World Records and all that, I never knew.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I never expected it, so.
And they always say, like, your first album, it's like, it's your whole life up until that point.
Yeah.
And for you to be, 20, 21 writing that, or some of the lyrics from like 19, like when you were writing all that. What was your kind of like process to get into writing? What was the process for that?
For me, a lot of the times the beat kind of swayed the vibe of the record. So when I heard Foolish, it sounded like something that was like, you're talking about pain or you're talking about going through something. You know what I mean? I've always loved hip hop. I've always loved R&B, but to put the two together was like, that was the foundation. You know, that's where I wanted to be. So for me, I kind of just would vibe out. You know, we would talk about different concepts and stuff in the studio. And I was always around guys, which is crazy. I was always the young girl amongst all the wolves. You know what I mean?
And it was like the hardcore guys,
it was the
too.
hardcore.
Yeah, like it's the different group.
Yeah, you know? So here I am, the bubbly young little girl. And I think it motivated me to stay in my zone, in my comfort zone that felt real and that felt like I could kick this to my friends, and me and my friends would be talking about these topics and concepts. You know what I mean? Right. So it just came from a place of real life. And I think that's where the connection comes. You know, when you're writing about things that you're going through and other females can relate to, and that they're going through the same thing, it's like, girl, let me put this CD in, because let me tell you what he's doing. You know
they put it on as a soundtrack for them to talk about what's happening. So it hits like that.
Exactly. It's like a catalyst. You don't even have to speak, just hit play.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But the feedback and to hear people say that and talk about that, you know, it's really an amazing feeling.
Of course. So let's get into the intro. The intro of the album. You kind of like just hit. It was almost like a stunt to me. It felt like you were stunting on everybody. Like, yo, this is my first album. But I'm gonna let you hear What's Love. I'm gonna let you hear Always On Time. I'm gonna let you hear like boom, 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 boom. And then it's like, all right. I'm gonna let y'all just get into it like that. So what was the idea behind that?
It was kind of solidifying all the things that I had done leading up into this platform of being able to be an individual, my own, you know, just me, myself as an artist. Here's everything that brought me here, and here's me. You know what I mean? So here's the collab with my brother, and the other collab with my brother. You know what I mean? And it kind of was like an introduction to me as an artist, Ashanti, and who I am, you know? So it was, it was cool. It was cool.
It's a stunt, right?
It was a little stunt.
a little bit, like just letting y'all know. But the crazy stunt with that is that What's Love and Always On Time were 1 and 2 on the Billboard charts at the same time. Yeah. And that was the first time that a female artist was able to do that. So you're breaking that kind of record early. We're going to talk a lot about breaking records, but that right there is just incredible in its own right. What was it like seeing that in Billboard?
Again, I was so young and naive, and I didn't have anything really to compare to as a new artist. So I'm like, so is this a good thing?
Right,
you know
right.
I'm asking everybody, so did we do good?
Right.
You know? And then honestly, it didn't hit me till later on to appreciate it like, wow. This is a huge accomplishment, you know? And the funny thing is, like, back then, you didn't really go into it like, I have to do a number one record.
See?
I have to make a number one record. It was just like, yo, this is hot. Let's do this. You know what I mean? And the fact that it organically happened, and it happened from a place of just me being myself, you know, with my label mates and with the producers, and us just having organic chemistry and going in and making these records for the people. That's what it bought. You know what I mean? So. And
I think it also solidified the fact that you can make a hit. Like, I got hits already. I'm throwing away. I think Jay got a line like that. I gave away hits. Yeah, and that's what you were doing. But then you go into your own. So right after intro, you go right into Foolish. And just set up Foolish a little bit more once again.
Oh, man. So Foolish, going into the studio, the head of the label played the record, Just the Beat. Seven was one of the producers when he produced the record. And it was super familiar. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Instant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you always hear that.
Exactly. So it's instant. I went in the studio and I'm like, oh, I like this. This is Biggie. You know what I mean?
Automatic.
You know? So we're talking, you know, I'm talking with the label head, and he's just like, yo, let's come up with this concept. Just talk about being in a relationship. Talk about, you know, what women go through, you know? So I'm sitting here like, you go through a lot. You know what I mean? And I think just me being vulnerable and showing off the back, you know, I'm hurting while I'm with you. I still want to be there. I'm cold without you. I don't know what to do. It's foolish. I'm running back. Like, that's what we do, you know, especially at that age, you know? So I think that struck a chord, you know, in my fan base. And what's crazy is that when guys can relate and guys don't have a problem knocking that R&B, that's when it's like you have something. You have something serious. And I think that is what kind of set me aside from a lot of my peers. You know what I mean? Because it was like, it had that edge, and it had, you know, that hip hop behind it. You know what I mean? And again, it made it okay for guys to listen to that R&B.
Oh, like you said, oh, that's Biggie.
Right.
But she's saying what my girl going through.
Exactly.
Because I guess like the way that you were describing what he was doing to you, dudes could say, I do that too.
Exactly.
So it's that other side that they could gravitate towards.
Absolutely.
You know, you go from Foolish, because as I was like researching for the album, and I actually got to sit and listen to it in a way that I hadn't when it first came out, especially like after you go through your own things and relationships and stuff like that, you hear the lyrics differently. So you wrote kind of like for Future type shit. Like it was really grounded in like realness for times to come. But it's a narrative throughout the album, if people are able to pick up on it, that we'll get into. But then you go from Foolish to Happy. What was the jump from Foolish to Happy?
It's like when you go through that and there's finally a breakthrough, whether it's you guys coming together and fixing a problem or you going to the next one, you know, exactly. You keep it moving to get happy. You know what I mean? And I think just the vibe and just how it felt, you know, you went from that and you schmoozed into that. Just sonically, it felt right. It made sense. You know what I mean? So I think it was a combination of the storytelling and the sonics of it.
Yeah, that outstanding.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of feel that outstanding under there.
You feel a little bit of that outstanding, and it feels good to hit play and just let it rock. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it made sense with the narrative. So.
Yeah. And the video. We got to talk about the video because we skipped over Foolish video, but that's a movie. Everyone knows that's a movie. But with Happy, it felt like we got another side of you because Foolish made you more mature in this, and then Happy brought you back into this place of like, yo, I'm still a round-the-way girl from over here. And we were talking about like the dance moves, the Prada kicks, you was showing all of that. You know what I mean? What were you trying to convey through the video as well?
Happy was just such a feel-good record. Even like the colors, like the orange, the pink, the red car, the rainbow colors, you know what I mean? The baby powder blue. It was just, it felt good, you know, and it made you feel good. And again, it's just that organic, that chemistry, that everything blended together. And the dance moves, I'm in my hometown. We were on the beach, you know what I mean? Prada's looking like lifesavers.
You said you had all colors though.
Every color. I had the peanut butter, the blue, the red, the white, the green.
The whole bit.
Everything.
That's what's up.
So yeah, it brings back a lot of great memories. You know, I had a bunch of family members. And my mom, was my mom in? Yeah, like, Mom was in Happy. Exactly. Mom was in Happy. My sister Shia, she was in Happy. A bunch of my cousins, kids I used to babysit, you know, they were in the crowd. All those
kids came out.
Yeah, all the pastor of my church came out.
He was there. He was like, he getting his two-step on.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it was a great feeling because it just felt like my hometown was literally happy for me. So all of that symbolism, you know, it's kind of embedded in there. You know, everyone was happy and they were like, this is our girl. This is our local Glen Cove, Long Island girl, you know, and I'm shooting this video. I had the opportunity to shoot Happy in the south of France. And I was like, I think I'm going to go to Glen Cove to the beach.
That's a big difference though.
It's a huge difference.
Like the south of France or around the way.
Around the way.
And you picked around the way.
Around the way.
See, that's why people gravitate towards you though. But you did get to the south of France.
I did.
Okay. You wasn't going to just not go at some point.
Not go.
So we go from Happy, and then you go into Leaving.
Yes.
So 7.
7.
7 is on that one. Real quick with 7 though, he was like different as far as like the aesthetic of when you walk into the studio.
Absolutely.
I remember one time, I think I came to one of y'all sessions, and I think you were just doing like ad-libs or something like that. And it was like all purple.
The crushed velvet purple.
See?
Lava
Look,
lamps.
yes.
Smoke machines.
Yep.
He had a dove in there.
Yo, it was. I walked in and I was like, yo, where Prince?
Are we?
Prince was in here. I was looking around like, and then everybody just was normal with it. But I had never been to a studio that was that decked out with a vibe. Can you speak on that?
Man, 7, super talented. But you know, like they say, most geniuses or people that are super talented are a little
out there.
a little eccentric.
Yeah.
He used to wear like a little blonde wig, came in with like a curtain or like a cape. No, it was a cape.
It was a cape.
You know what I mean? But the vibe, you know, the tone was set, and people accepted it because of the talent. He was just so talented.
Those sonics came out crazy.
Yeah, the sonics were amazing, you know? So going in and recording Leaving, the vibe was kind of like Always on Time Part 2, because it was me and Josh still going back and forth. You know, it was kind of upbeat, up-tempo, but it had a point, you know, it had merit. And I think that's another thing, like just as far as me being a writer, I think it's always important to tell a story or have merit in what you're saying. And if you could do that and make it catchy, have a dope melody and a hard beat, I feel like that is a great formula for a great record.
Now, is that the formula for a great record? And is there a different formula for a hit, or is that just the basis for it? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a tough question. That's a tough question, because there are some records that are hits and that were hits, but then you have records that are classics. You know what I mean? So there are some records that went number 1 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but they may not be as prominent as a classic record.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You know what's going to be played at the barbecue.
Exactly. You know what I mean? What is the record? What is the barbecue?
Before I Let Go?
Yes.
Like, you know,
classic.
You're going to hear that.
You're going to hear that.
Yes,
it doesn't matter how old you are, you know that record.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So there's a big difference between a classic record and a hit, you know?
And you and Ja on that, it's such an underrated cut to me on the album because it wasn't a single,
right,
but it was part 2. So you would think it would be a remix, but it wasn't a remix.
Right.
It's just, but it's so dope because his lines are dope and y'all just flow like that.
Back and forth. But let me tell you this, it's crazy, like you just mentioned, it's underrated, but kind of not. It's underrated because it was never officially released.
Right.
But I literally just, like I said, I just got off tour in the UK. We did all arenas, and I put that in the set list. And at first my DJ was like, "You sure?"
Uh-huh. Yo, trust me.
All I did was hold the mic out.
Wow.
If you were me, why would you do? And it was like, wow, in your face, you know? And it was like, wow. It was an amazing feeling. And here's something even on top of that. One of my fans put together a clip of me doing the exact same thing 20 years ago in Germany. Exact same thing.
Way.
I had on a little Kango hat and a jean skirt.
Right. The style was different.
Outfit.
The style was different. I feel you.
But it was almost identical. Just the reaction from the crowd. It's like you felt it in your face, you know? So,
but they're tracking you from then. Like, just imagine people, they're really analyzing your life that way. You know, isn't that something?
It's amazing.
There was one time I had to do a story with Jay-Z and Kanye, and it was at Yankee Stadium. And they were like, yo, you know, come on the stage. So I'm on the side of the stage, and they started doing Monster and all that stuff. And I couldn't believe the energy that comes out when they ask for them to say something.
Yes.
That you actually feel it.
You feel it, like in your face.
Yeah, do you get addicted to that feeling too?
I ain't gonna lie to you.
It's one of those things that it's kind of like, it grabs you to know that they have that for you.
It absolutely grabs you. It absolutely makes you go 10 times harder, no matter how much, like if I'm sweating or I'm hot or I need to drink water or whatever is going on. That feeling of when they're singing that record back and you just do this.
Takes you back.
Gosh.
And then also, do you anticipate what that energy power level is as far as like, I know you're saying like it makes you go harder,
Mm-hmm.
but then sometimes you're like, oh, they ain't too hot tonight. I gotta get them up, or they already ready. Like sometimes does that happen? Like,
sometimes you definitely have to bring them up, you know.
because sometimes they're out in these festivals, it's hot all day, they waiting, and they finally got you, and they trying to give you that energy.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been super blessed and fortunate enough to really never have like a dead crowd. You know,
I feel you.
But there have been crowds that you kind of got to work. You got to get them into it. You know, I do remember performing in Japan one time. They like warned me and they were like, listen, you know, in Japan, they're very reserved. It's not that they don't like you. It's not that they're not having fun, but they would prefer to sit down and just watch. So don't get offended if they're not standing up and waving their hands and screaming. Baby, when I went out there and I sang Foolish, the whole arena erupted. They stood up, and this was one of the most amazing things that I've ever experienced. Mm-hmm. They really didn't understand English.
Oh, no.
There was a huge language barrier.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they didn't understand, if I would say, put your hands up and not see anything, and then I would do this and they put their hands up.
Throw it up.
But when I sang Foolish, they sang Foolish back verbatim.
Word for word.
Word for word. But they, you know, it was a language barrier, so they didn't really understand English.
But the
they were able,
feeling gets them, though.
Exactly.
Because you singing it with feeling, so they're feeling that.
Exactly. So I always felt like that was like such a huge accomplishment to be in an entire different country, you know, where there's a huge language barrier, but music is just so universal and it's so fluid and it's so like empowering. Mm-hmm. I was able to break through a barrier, you know what I mean? Just doing something that I love off of something that I had written.
That's incredible.
Crazy.
Cool. So going into narrative call, you go into call. Mm-hmm. Narrative call does what for the album?
It sets up a part of me that I feel like was necessary. You know, it again, it makes me relatable. It makes me, I'm just like you. You know what I mean? I'm telling y'all what I really had a boyfriend from Queens that I used to pick up from the train station.
He would call?
Yes.
Like, yo. You
know what I mean? And it's crazy. I literally has gone through these situations. I remember because he used to work right by Penn Station and he used to come from the city, and I'm in Long Island. You know what I mean?
That Long Island Railroad.
That Long Island Railroad.
Here we go.
You know, so sometimes it would be 2 a.m, 3 a.m. Sometimes we pouring rain, you know, and it didn't matter.
He was like, yo, I'm
there.
going to get you.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. And then call is like more stripped down, I feel. It's like you get to feel the lyrics of, exactly. Yo, I know she can be mine. So that's how you be writing. Yo, that's crazy. But yeah, that's how I felt with call. You're right. It needed to be in there to show everyone like, yeah, you know, even though I'm a superstar singer, at the same time I'm going through this with you as well, even aside from Foolish. You know, so that was really dope.
Yeah, I think it's super important, you know, because people want to feel like they're a part of your journey, especially now. You know, obviously 20 years ago was a little different, no social media,
right?
But now they want to go through it with you. So going back, it's like there wasn't Instagram, there wasn't Twitter, so you had to create those visuals. And that's another thing that I think is really important as a writer. When you're able to write something and someone can see it, that's powerful to me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
visual.
Yeah, that visual is something. And I think, again, that's what separates a lot of artists as far as writing is concerned.
Right.
You know, you want to tell a story, but you want to be able to see the room when they're telling this story, you know?
Everything that was in there as well. We're going to pause real quick before we get to Scared, just to talk. This is like the part of the show where going to stats a little bit. So the album was on the top 200 Billboard for 3 weeks straight. Crazy. What are you thinking at this time? Like opening it up, like what is triple platinum? You know, 3 mil and change. Like, come on now, you got to put the stats up in there. Let people know.
Listen.
Especially in those times because there was no streaming.
There was no streaming. These are people physically getting up, getting out, driving to the record store, standing in line, and purchasing those albums, you know? And I don't even know how to describe it, you know, having or being an artist that has been able to transcend from that time to now. It's like you have a different kind of appreciation.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was like the hardcore blood, sweat, and tears, you know, putting everything into it, not just boop, upload. You know what I mean?
Waiting on the mix.
Yeah,
like you gotta go to the studio to go for that.
Studio. You know, this
Different
is when it was that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The real. You know what I mean? And it's weird because it's like that was like cooking on the stove, you know, in the oven, baking. Today is like the microwave.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's it was just a beautiful thing to be able to create those moments.
That's dope. Okay, so we're gonna get back into the album. Scared. I felt like with this one, Chink, who I want you to break down like his production style, you let your guard down in this song. It's like you're scared to let it down, but it sounds like you're about to do that. So can you explain that and Chink Santana's style?
It was around 11:30 when I realized
so we ain't even need the music.
You.
We got the music right
here. Oh my gosh. So it was like, I think every female has been in a situation where they feel like, I don't know if I should with this dude or if I shouldn't because I don't know what really, you know, what he's about. I don't know. It's like I'm scared to move forward because I don't know if I should believe anything you're saying. What are you saying to me? What are you saying to the next girl? But I was always also a female to kind of talk about like, okay, you do that, okay, I'm gonna do this. You know what I mean? Like, watch yourself. Don't. I'm not basic. Don't mix me up with the rest. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't mix me up with the rest of them. You know, because some of the lines in that record, even listening to it now, like some of the lines in that record, I was like, what did I say? I couldn't be just a girl that you see and want some more.
Hey.
Cause if it goes down, better believe I won't be your only one. You know what I'm saying? So
you're letting him know.
Exactly. Like if we do this, it's just me and you.
That's what it is.
Exactly. So I may be a little scared, but don't get it twisted. Don't go crazy.
Yep.
You know, this is what it is. So I try to always put a message of empowerment, even with a woman and how we are sometimes very vulnerable and sometimes naive and, you know, sometimes we drop our guard.
And that's part of like the love process.
Yes, that's part of the love process. I felt like it was still very important to stand up for yourself a little. You know what I mean? Which is why and I know we're jumping around, but which is why we went from foolish to unfoolish. You know what I mean? So yeah, we can be a flower and sometimes we're vulnerable and hurt and we give more, but
there you go.
You know what I mean? So you had to create a good balance.
That's
I felt like that was very important.
Yep. And then what do you feel about like the sonics that Chink helped provide for that song?
So Chink was more of the
he gave you the face.
Yeah, he gave you
face.
That.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was mean. Like it was bass, it was drums, it was like it was hard, it was passion and you know, it wasn't when we made our records, it wasn't, oh, we're gonna do this for top 40. You know what I mean? It was, this is what we doing.
Just the theme and let's get to this.
And then you know what? And top 40 came and got it. You know what I mean? It wasn't us catering. And I think that's a blessing and that's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? Even now, like, I always would say I want a mother effer. You know what I mean? A multi-formatted record that goes across every chart. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like when we went and we made these records, again, it wasn't we were trying to fit into them. It was we were creating great records and they came and they got these records and they became multi-formatted. You know what I mean? And I feel like that was really special and really important. And that's what made it so organic.
Got you. I feel like this is like the meat of the album too, because the storyline really connects because we go from scared into rescue. And as much as you're like, all right, the empowerment, it's also like, I may need you to rescue me
Mm-hmm.
because I'm falling in love. That's what I was picking up. And I was like, all right, is she scared to continue? You know, is it now because you want them and you're not scared no more?
Right.
So what's up with Rescue?
Rescue was, first of all, I fell in love with the beat. That was 7. Yep. And it was just so different. It was dark, but it was sexy. And it's so crazy because it kind of came out almost like a freestyle. Oh my gosh. She come and rescue me. Wow. It just felt like when I heard the beat, that is the concept that immediately jumped in my head. And this was before, I think I had said it before he put the sirens in it. And it just felt like mysterious, but dark, but sexy.
Automatic.
So, yeah, you know, so that's kind of just what poured out of my heart, you know?
Oh, man, that joint right there, that goes into Baby.
Yes.
And, you know, for so many years, everyone knows that that's pretty much your favorite word. That's your favorite. That's your comfort word. You know what I mean?
It is.
And what's so dope about it is you made it a hit too. It was like, yep, I'm gonna make my comfort word.
And watch this.
And watch this. Watch this. Y'all gonna love it too. You know what I mean? It was on the Hot 100, peaked at 15, but it seemed like people gravitated towards that one like so much.
Yeah.
And this was also the one where Seven and Chink kind of came together as well on this beat. What was so special about Baby, and why do you think people love it so much?
I think just the metaphors, the fact that I'm a female and I was able to flip it, obviously, from Scarface and Mary Jane, and the fact that I even knew about the record and how it was flipped to make it about love and make it romantic. And as a female being vulnerable, every man, you know, y'all want y'all egos stroked. So
you're right.
When you're saying baby, 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 baby,
hey,
you know what I'm saying? Like guys want to hear that.
That's
and
like
girls,
a massage.
Exactly.
I feel what you. I get it. It's like a massage for the dudes.
I love it when I hear your name.
Right.
Say it. You know, so guys want to hear it. Girls feel it. We feel that. You know, and I was just at that moment. I was okay to say it. I'm massage your love.
Right. There you go.
You know, and I think that's definitely important. And again, it wasn't like regular R&B, and it wasn't just hip hop. It was
and it was slower.
Yes.
That tempo brought it back down.
I live in the mid. In the mid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's that head nod. It's that not trying too much, but that heart is coming out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, when guys, because they want to be able to, you know, the system, you know what I'm saying? They want to turn it all the way up and have that system knot. So, I think it's just when you have a record that can just bring women, bring men, bring kids like the melody, baby, baby. Yep. You know what I mean? It's very simple. It's catchy.
But it's almost lullaby-ish. But then the remix had Crooked Eye. Yeah. And it made it hardcore at the same time with a lullaby, but it was still melodic. It was just like, whoa. And that video was crazy too.
Yes.
Just the visual, the way that everything kind of went like in the carousel.
Yes.
You got to see everybody from the ink, but then you also got to see you switch up too.
Yeah.
You know?
I had my chinchilla.
Yes, that chinchilla you walked up. I
had the Manolo Timbs on.
We had to talk about that style. We had to, because I think the other thing was you related to so many other regions. It wasn't like just New York.
Yeah.
But you gave New York energy.
1,000,000%.
You know what I mean?
1,000,000%. And it's crazy because I grew up a tomboy, like crazy. So, you know, I was the only girl on my block. And I grew up with all boys.
Right.
And remember Power Wheels? Remember
Oh
Big
yeah,
Wheels?
big wheels.
Remember the big
I had
wheel?
the big wheels. Like, whoa.
So you would think, you know, I had my little pigtails, you know, I had on my little pink shirt and then pink sweatsuit, pink sneakers. I had a Transformer big wheel. It was
Stop.
black and red.
You are wildin'. You had
gray.
Optimus Prime.
Yes.
One of them riding down.
Exactly.
Running with
I
the
had
boys.
with the boys.
Crazy.
You know? So for me I've always had that energy. So it's still, you know, the flower, but I could still be hard and just I'm surrounded by what I'm comfortable with all the guys and just the power and the energy and just being, you know, just myself. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of people could feel that, you know, in the records. It wasn't a force. It wasn't, okay, we're going to make this artist into this. That's just who I am.
Complimented each other really well. And it was different seeing you with someone other than Ja in that way, you know, during that run. Because, of course, with Fat Joe and everything and with Cadillac Ty, but that was like more like fam. This was like a whole nother label, you know, dude. And from the West Coast.
West Coast, exactly.
And his verses was on fire.
Crazy.
Yeah. That joint was crazy.
Yeah, so it was, baby, it has penetrated so many different, like, again, being in Switzerland, in Germany, you know, in Spain, like, you know what I mean? Colombia, India. Like, how did
how? Yeah.
You know? So it's a blessing. I keep going back to it, you know?
Yes, indeed. And then we go into Voodoo.
Yes.
And I was like, Voodoo after Baby. But I guess it's like how I figured it out was the guy put a spell on you. Or are you putting a spell on him, or are y'all putting spells on each other?
I think with Voodoo, because I never felt like this. I know I may be wrong, but I like it. I think I like the way. Yes. I think the way that we pictured it, it was kind of like me being under a spell because my baby got me tripping. You know what I mean? And it's funny because I love reggae music. I love Caribbean music. I love soca music. I love Afrobeats. I'm like an island girl at heart. So for me, that was kind of my, you know what I mean? That was my little piece of vibe. There you go. That I could throw on there. And it's funny. I remember I wrote that record in the parking lot of Majestic Diner in Long Island.
Wow.
Yeah, I was waiting for somebody, ordered food, and I was in the car and I had the beat, and they were taking mad long. So I just
write a song like the here it go. And you did it in your two-way? Or what was it?
No, you know what's the crazy thing? I still would carry a pen and pad. Like I would have a pen and pad in my car. Yeah. They all laugh at me.
When he met you, you came with your hoodie and a pad and pen. I was like, what?
They all laugh at me. And this is the crazy part. Who was the last guy I was in the studio with? Moneybagg Yo. So as far back as from when my first album came out to a few months ago, whatever, last year, when I went in the studio with Moneybagg Yo, and they are laughing because I got a pen and pad. But they're like, nah. We love it. But I'm like, for me, I gotta see it. Like, I want to see what I'm writing, because sometimes you, like, visually, you can see it better for me.
But like in your handwriting.
In my handwriting, my sloppy, disgusting, chicken scratch handwriting. And my handwriting is like a fourth grader.
There's
it's terrible.
No way you're this beautiful. You have like Oscar the Grouch.
I will write, it's Oscar the Grouch. I promise you. It's so terrible. But you know what? I think God did that to me on purpose so that nobody could steal my lyrics. Because you can't read it.
Can't read it. Can't read them. I think Eminem does that too. He writes all crazy.
Yes, I write in the margin. Yes. Like, I'll have an idea. So I'll write like the hook here, and I'll be like, ooh, let me save this line for later. And I'll write this on the bottom. Wow. Then I'll write like, okay, the melody, I'll write that I'll write like in a puzzle. It's crazy.
But only you know.
Only I could understand it. Because my writing is disgusting.
This one was a little bit of a shocker, because while I was listening to it, my oldest daughter, she's 21, she was like, oh, you doing Ashanti? Oh, okay. You doing the album with movies on it? I was like, what you know about It's just like kind of.
What you know about that?
What? So movies is her joint.
Oh, wow.
So please, can you break down movies for us?
Oh my gosh. I love that record, and that's another song that kind of came just out of my heart.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard the beat, it was very R&B.
Yes, it feels like a throwback.
You know, and it still had the
Yeah.
it still had the hard drums and a very strong melody. And I really, to this day, I don't know why my brain came up with that hook, but I'll never forget. I was on the LIE.
Wow.
I was in the Hove lane. I wasn't supposed to be. I was going to my best friend's house. And I pulled over because I was like, I was blasting. This is when I had my Mazda, my 626
Yes.
Mazda.
And you know, that was my first car.
For real?
A 626. We call them Scooter.
Right. Oh,
Yep.
man. So I had the Mazda, and I remember pulling over because I was blasting the beat, and I just kept coming up with words. I was just saying like statements and saying words and sentences. And I wanna be like those girls in the movie. Oh, I want to be like those girls in the movies, and have them like, and the concept and the idea just came. You know what I mean? And I remember pulling over and writing down the hook and being like, okay, I'm gonna finish this when I get to the house. You know what I mean? But just the melody, the cadence, and the concept, it literally came from me driving out to my friend's house in Long Island, because that's what the beat made me feel like. You know what I mean? I want to be like those girls in the movies. You know, all the guys love the girls in the movies. You know what I mean? So,
like, for you to even think on that level like that and bring it in sonically, that's incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah, I love that. So we have another stat break real quick before we finish this album. So 3 Grammy nominations.
I think it was 5.
I have 3, and it was so it's 5.
Go ahead, Mom.
we going with 5, and then I want to make sure I'm right. 8 Billboard.
Yeah, that was
and
crazy.
like that night, because it was like
night.
for your joints and for others.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got to swish on that one. We good. We good. What was that night like, though? Uh-oh. Well, we got a story.
Oh, my
We got a
gosh.
story.
First of all, I didn't realize that all of those awards were mine.
No
So
way.
when I got up, first of all, I was like so ecstatic and so happy. They called my name, Ashanti. And I'm like, oh. So, Ja, everybody's there. All the guys are there. My parents, my sister, everyone's there. I woke up, I'm saying my thank yous, and all of these awards are on the stand. So I'm like, thank you guys so much. So I take one and I walk away, and they're like, no, all of those are yours. And I was like, all of them? So I was so dazed, I couldn't believe it. And obviously I couldn't carry all of them. Right. So I was like, oh my gosh, all of these are mine. And we all went went out to eat. And at the time, my tour manager, he's so stupid. He was like, 8! We got 8! They was like, sir, how many people? 8! There's 8 people with us. Sir, how many orders of 8? We want 8 of everything on the menu.
Now, see, that's exactly why you win 8. So you could run around and say it like that.
Exactly.
Oh, my
the
goodness.
whole night. Oh, my gosh. It was hilarious. Everybody was just super proud and super excited, just as a new artist. That's a really big deal. That's a big moment, especially for a female.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Yep. So that was a great night.
Now, on the flip side, because you're coming into the game, you're almost unknown. Like, where did she come from? Mm-hmm. Right? There was a little bit of hate going around, and there was controversy. Mm-hmm. And how did you deal with that controversy of some people feeling like you got so much so fast, but you knowing that you worked for it? Mm-hmm. What was it like dealing with that?
It was always hard because I just felt like I'm not mean. I'm not mean to people. You know what I mean? So why is this coming? Why are they saying this? Why are they so mad? Like, right. But I have an amazing foundation. I have an amazing family and support system. I have an amazing team. And I'm strong, like my mom and dad, they raised me to be very, very strong. And having come from having my first record deal at 14, I learned a lot. I got disappointed a lot very early, you know.
Yeah, those hard knocks.
Yeah, and I think that was a character builder for me, you know. So to be disappointed and hurt and have to get back up and try again, get knocked down again, and then get back up and try again in front of people. Like, I come from a small town, so when the first record deal didn't go through and then the second record deal didn't go through, you know, the local newspaper, oh, our hometown girl. And then it's like, well, where's the music? Right. You know what I mean? You gotta come back. You gotta come back. So it's like I had already gone through, you know, just criticism and dealing with disappointment and hurt, you know. So when all of the hate was coming and the chitter chatter, it definitely didn't feel good, you know, because I just felt like, well, I don't bother anybody.
Yeah, like why would y'all want to do a petition?
You know, right.
Like that's going all the way.
It's a little far.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I knew, this is the scary part. I knew, and I always said to myself in my heart, I was like, something bad is going to happen, and it's going to happen soon because things are going just too perfect. So
you're like that. I'm like that too. Like when things are going all, you're like, when the shoe going to drop?
And plus, because I'm a Libra, so my life is a balance. So it'll be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing happening here. And then down here, like, oh my gosh, this is devastating. So it brings me here to balance out. So I knew it was coming. But again, it definitely didn't feel good. You know, it was definitely hurtful.
How'd you overcome it?
I overcame it because I have a phenomenal team and family. You know, I remember the petition, I think for the Soul Train. I remember Ja and all the guys came to the red carpet with no shirt on, jeans, hat backwards. What up? Who got something to say? You know what I mean? And I'm there with my little dress on and my pocketbook, you know, my curls. And it was just like all the guys were with me. Like, who has something to say?
Right.
You know? And I think that obviously helped me, and it gave me confidence. And it was just a reminder that, look, this is a part of life. This is a part of the business. You know what I mean? And I was just grateful to have a team and my family be such a great support system.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they have seen how hard, you know, that I've worked, and they've seen the failed record deals, you know, and they've seen, you know, just one of my biggest performances that I'd ever had. My grandfather died the night before and I was distraught and I didn't want to do it. And, you know, there are a lot of things people don't know, just that you have to deal with, you know what I mean? So it definitely was not all easy. It definitely wasn't here's always on time and it's number one, you know what I mean? And that is not how it went down. But I had to accept it, you know, and then 20 years later, I got an award from Soul Train.
Bam, because you know that was coming up. You know that was coming up.
You know, so I think the journey is important. I wouldn't change it, you know, because it's part of my story. It's part of my journey. And it enables me to appreciate the good, the bad, the hard work, you know, and just listen, be okay with the fact that not everyone is going to love you.
That's
you
the hardest part, I think, for people, especially when your career is based on how many people do like you.
Yes.
You know, it's like that group over there doesn't.
Right.
So to be okay with that,
you have to be okay.
It gets you through.
Listen, as long as there's more that like you than
right.
not.
Exactly. We're gonna get back into the album. So we go to Fight Skit because that felt really real.
Very real.
And then you go into Over, and I was like, you know, how hurt changes a person and how you also view a person after you've been hurt. So did that, okay, I finally got one. I think I got one now. I got one. So we're Over.
Yeah.
Explain.
Super, super deep record. When I met you, I knew you would be the one for me. 'Cause looking at you had me feeling kind of crazy. Woo! You asked, I almost did it automatically. 'Cause it was nothing compared to the joy you gave me. So, okay. It's basically just being sideswiped. Like, how? You know, how could you do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was so amazing in the beginning. I never saw this coming. Now I'm looking at you like a different person. You know, now I'm rethinking how I think, because how did I think you were this and you turned out to be that?
And you were capable of this.
And you were capable.
That's crazy.
Knowing what we had and what the foundation was, or what I thought. You know what I mean? And all these tears and none of your lies, all these years now we're saying goodbye. It's over, babe. Oh man.
You remember where you were when you wrote that one?
Let me think. And I wrote some of it in my basement at my house. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, or I should say this, or if I could say this, but at the time, this was supposed to be a duet.
Gotcha.
But it was a lot of stuff going on even back then. You know what I mean?
It's so funny because you could feel You could feel it. I'm like, yo, slow burning. It feels like that.
Exactly.
So Chink knew, right?
Wow. So in writing that record, I'm trying to think. I had a boyfriend. He was from Queens, and he was moving to Miami, like right in the process of me finishing up my album. And he was now that I look back, he wasn't so bad.
I thought that was gonna be a curve, and you curved it again.
Curved it again.
He was like,
he only did a couple of things.
Right.
But just how I felt in writing that record and going through like certain experiences, it was deep.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I wrote that record 20 years ago, and there are situations that I can relate to it now. You know what I'm saying?
That's wild.
Yeah, it's very wild. I'm like, I need to write about the lotto.
Yo, you know what I'm saying? Because you predicted that people would still be going through this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those are realness.
But I just felt like that record is very powerful. It's a vibe, it's a head nod, but it's telling a story.
Yes, indeed.
And it hits you in your heart, you know? Because now I see that trying to change you only changed me. You know what I mean? And it's like, we have to protect our energy at all costs. And going through those situations, they either gonna make you stronger or, you know, teach you a lesson.
And trying to change people is really hard.
Very hard, and you shouldn't.
Right.
You know, ultimately that's the message. Right. You know, I'm not gonna lower my vibration because you down here in the gutter. You know what I mean? So
you mentioned the crack house. So we're gonna take another quick pause. We're almost done. You mentioned the crack house. And the crack house was on Mercer. That was the Murder Inc. studio.
Yes. Cool. So the crack house.
Yes.
There was never crack there.
It's not crack.
There was
the only crack y'all was making was the music.
Exactly. It's back then they used to call crack, like the hits were like crack. Yep. You know what I mean? So it's like the hit house, you know, the house of hits. You know what I mean? So it's like, yo, it's another crack. It's another crack. We cracking these hits out. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where the concept of the crack house came. Right.
But y'all stayed in there hours and hours and hours
till the sun came up. It would be crazy. It would be to the extent that I would have to park on the other side of the street, you know, because after a certain amount of time, the garbage comes.
Alternate
sides. If after 6, hit it.
I heard you used to write while that would happen.
Oh, that's funny. You remember that?
I found out.
You found out. Yeah. So I used to be in my Mazda. And I used to be in there writing because here's the thing. I used to have to drive from Long Island. So I used to want to beat the traffic. Yep. So sometimes I would get to the studio early so I can get a parking spot.
Afternoon.
Exactly. And the guys wouldn't be there till late. So I would sit in the car and write, move to the other side of the street, finish writing. And then once everyone started to get there, that's when I would go upstairs.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Bar 89 was the spot right down the street. Everybody used to go there, get the wings.
Everybody used to go get the wings.
That was the spot.
My gosh.
They played some dope music.
Yes, Bar 89. And listen, I'm not a snitch, but the guys used to be running into little females at Bar 89, and they used to be using me as bait. They would be like, I got Ashanti upstairs. You want to come upstairs?
You want to meet her?
You want to meet her? That's exactly what it was.
Finish your wings.
Finish your wings, and we go upstairs.
That's what's up. Oh my goodness. And those times were like super special because the industry was different.
Yeah.
New York was different. It was all the clubs.
Yes.
So I'm sure after y'all would record stuff, y'all would go out sometimes, maybe, different spots and stuff like that.
I mean, the guys definitely would. I would always be in like a juicy sweatsuit and a ponytail. So.
Right. And be like, yo, I'm out.
It was not the vibe for me.
Oh my goodness.
But the guys, for sure.
Right.
They would be trying to tell me to hurry up so they could leave. Or you know what they used to do? They used to leave me. They used to be like, all right, we'll be back. They go to the club and come back, and I'll still be there in the booth.
Rocking.
So, rocking.
Oh my goodness. Well, we ending up soon, and I mean, this record right here, Unfoolish. That one right there, because it's like now you're in the power seat with Unfoolish, and then Biggie jumps in.
Yes.
Y'all got a Biggie verse back in the early 2000s. That was crazy.
Thank you,
hard.
Harv. Thank you, Puff.
Yeah, the good people over at Bad Boy Records. Unfoolish.
Oh my gosh, that was a moment. I remember I was on a date with my then boyfriend at Red Lobster.
Oh, those Cheddar Bay biscuits.
And I got the call, and they were like, yo, you gotta come to the studio now.
Whoa.
And I'm like, I want a date.
No way.
You gotta come now. And Seven played the beat over the phone. And I was like, oh, I gotta go.
Yeah. See you later.
See
Wrap
you
these
later.
biscuits up.
I'm telling you. And I remember flying back to the city because we were in Queens. We were like in Valley Stream.
Mm-hmm.
I remember flying back to the city. They pulled the beat up. Everybody was so hyped and so excited.
Oh, man. That's that big.
Ooh, that synth.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh.
That's that big.
So.
And you know what? I hear him a lot more now saying, and another one. There's a lot in there. And I was like, oh, I didn't hear him before. So now, like that remaster stuff, you'd be like, oh.
Yes. So when they played it, and they explained the concept, this was going to be the remix to Foolish.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make it different. So conceptually, I'm like, okay, so I'm not going to be foolish anymore. I'm foolish. Okay. I think I found my strength to finally get up and leave. No more. That was a thing. I always wanted to come up with something catchy. No more telling your lies to me. No more. You know what I mean? Giving you everything. So it was like melodic, it was melody, it was catchy, it was powerful, it was a statement. I wanted people to be able to yell it. Mm-hmm. Looking like I got my head on right. You know what I mean? So it's like you feel it and you feel empowered, especially if you just found out he's cheating, you blasting Foolish.
All the way. That one is going.
Yeah.
That's ringing.
So, and then I'll never forget when we went to the office to get the verse, the big verse. Oh my gosh. It was crazy. It felt like we were like in a museum and we just took something.
Right.
To
be able to get that at that time.
At that time,
Ooh.
me being a new artist, R&B, a female.
You got big on your album.
And I got big on the album.
Yeah.
Yo, and I remember like Puff wrote something down. Matter of fact, I need to ask him to this day, what did he write on that little sticket that posted? I think I know what it is now. But he wrote a message to the head of the label, and they kind of exchanged laughs. Mm-hmm. And then I just know I got the verse.
There you go.
And I was just like, wow, this is crazy.
That joint knocks too. That's the one.
It does.
That's the one. We go into Shishi and see Automatic. Look at that. The biggest, brightest smile of the day comes with that. Mm-hmm. And I got to know your sister through you. Yeah. And she's the coolest.
Yes, she's the coolest.
But back then, on this particular interlude, how old is she about?
She was, oh my gosh, when we did that, we was making her late for school. Because she had to record it on the phone. Right. And they recorded it through the phone into the speakers in the studio. So I was in LA, and she literally was on her way to school. And, she had the high pitched voice.
Yes.
And they were like, just talk how you would usually really talk to your sister. And she hit him with the, call me back, butthead.
Yes. She hit you with the little sister
yes,
joint.
With the little sister joint. How old was she? She was like 12, 13. And that was like our real conversation. You know what I mean? So,
it sounded like, especially the way she ended it. But one thing that she did do was she helped lead into dreams, because she said, glad that you're going for your dreams, or your dreams are coming. That right there. And then the funny hook at the end, and you go right into dreams. So now you're unfoolish, you're getting your empowerment back, and then you go into this, led by your sister, into dreams.
And the fact that she's 12 and young and talking about following your dreams, and how we start dreams with young kids, and them, inspiring them to follow their dreams, and motivating and telling these young kids to follow your dreams. You know what I mean? So, that was.
And y'all are like super tight.
Super jam tight. Peanut butter and jelly, baby.
There you go.
White on rice.
So you go into dreams, and dreams is just basically you finding your voice again throughout everything that you've gone through. And even outside of the relationship, you're going for this career.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Like, no matter what, follow your dreams, no matter how hard it may feel, or no matter how many times you may get discouraged. That's why in the beginning we had these kids talking about, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor. When I grow up, I want to be a fireman. Like all of these amazing things, and not to limit yourself. Because again, here's a young girl from Long Island. I had no clue that any of this would come to fruition, would be successful. I had no idea that this would be the album that changed my life forever. And I'm still giving an inspirational message about following your dreams. So it's kind of like a boomerang effect, because I'm telling it almost to myself as well.
That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a really special.
You can tell it's special to you even in this moment. It's like that one hits you.
Yeah, it's a special moment.
But then you double it up though. So you have that special moment with dreams, but then you go into like, all right, y'all gonna see that I can sing without no beat, without no help, just me and my voice saying thank you. And you're saying thank you to God.
Thank you to God. Yep. Thank you to God. And it's so crazy because I had lost both my grandparents around that time. So not around that time, but when I wrote the record and when I vocaled the record, I was specifically had them in my mind, because I'm like, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have you in my life. Because the support, my grandfather was my best friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was my best friend. My grandma too.
Of course.
But we used to live with my grandfather. So he was like my buddy. We went to the 99-cent store. My grandfather was taking me everywhere, barbecues, So that was like something really, really special. And I was a little sad that they didn't get to witness, my album, and they didn't get to witness all these amazing things. I remember my grandfather being in a hospital. He was in a hospital, and he used to tell me that the ladies didn't believe that I was his granddaughter. So I bought him like a little boom box, for his room. So he used to play, and he used to be telling him like, no, I'm telling you, that's my granddaughter, right? So they never believed him. And this is when the Pun record was out.
Wow.
So I remember coming up to the hospital one day to visit, and the nurses were like,
no.
Oh my gosh.
Tell them the truth.
And then my grandpa, I told you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So he was so proud.
That's right.
But going back to the Thank You record, I was sad that they didn't really get a chance to see everything that had happened. But in that same breath, in that same moment, I was saying thank you for the love and the support all the way up until that.
That's what helped power you through that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And trust and believe they pulling strings up there.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
You know that.
1,000,000%.
Yes, indeed. And you, I mean, ending the album overall, how do you feel about the album overall? Just you, the work you put into it, to have it done, and then 20 years later, the same week that it came out, get your star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Like, just encapsulate all of that for us.
It's really, really hard to put in words, the feeling and the joy that it brings me. It's again, never my wildest dreams that I think that would happen. And it has happened within God's divine timing, which is crazy. You couldn't have planned that.
But your mom knew it was going to happen. She knew you was going to get that star.
Listen, when she went to the souvenir shop and got that little baby,
Back in the day?
fake star 20 years ago, oh my gosh. It's still crazy.
That's
like,
wild.
I can't believe she literally went in a souvenir shop, had them customize it, because it wasn't no Ashanti. So
there was no Ashanti in
there
there.
was no Ashanti, nothing. But the fact that she went into the store and she was like, no, my daughter's going to get one of these. And I'm like, Ma, I don't think so. That's, you're reaching a little. So the fact that she was able to, I guess, manifest it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And just the belief and the love and the power, the strength of that bond, to your child, obviously her, to me, is very strong.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
I've seen it.
Yeah, you've seen it.
I've seen it in the realest of moments.
Yes, absolutely. So it's just really, I don't know how to put it in words other than, like, I'm beyond humbled and grateful, and I have faith.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, again, just with God's divine timing, and I've gone through a lot of things, the federal indictment, the beef, the comparisons, me becoming an independent artist, still writing my records. A lot of people didn't know I've written every album, you know what I mean? So, and people look at that a little bit more now, like, oh, she wrote everything. You know what I mean? So,
what about the relationships too? Like, people peg you to people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Unfortunately, a lot of relationships went sour, and that's part of the business. And some are stronger than ever, but going back to receiving a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, like,
wow.
I still, sometimes it's surreal, and like you said, within the same week that we're celebrating my 20th year, 20-year anniversary of my first album, is just like, how?
And that's your sister's birthday.
And it's my sister's birthday. How crazy is that? So that is something in the universe that we don't possess. That's God. That's just something
that's that frequency.
That's that frequency, and it was meant for me. You know what I mean? And again, like, I'm super humbled, and I'm very grateful, and so many people that played a part in allowing that to happen,
Right.
Michelle, my mom, Steph, Jerry, Rich, Bill, all the people that help the team and continuously push me and continuously support me and continuously fight, because, I don't have a major, this is me and the team, you know what I mean? And I think that says so much, because you have these huge machines that are behind other artists, and I'm like the little engine that could, you know what I'm saying? But we coming with the smoke.
Coming with the smoke. Automatic.
Right, So I think that it says a lot just about, who I am as an artist and my team and work ethic.
Oh, automatic.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot. It's not easy.
The work is in the head.
Yeah, there's a lot of
it's
sacrificing. There's a lot of, disappointments, a lot of rejection, a lot of things that go sideways,
Right.
in the public. I'm living my life in the public.
In the public.
You know?
For the last 20 years.
Yes, and people have things to say,
And you're growing at the same time.
Yes,
and you're trying
growing,
to
learning.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're trusting people that don't deserve it, But again, just getting back to the celebratory moment and being able to have my family around me and doing so, it's really a beautiful thing,
Wow.
So I'm just happy.
Amazing. Thank you for today. This is so funny though. We brought in the new year together. Me, you, your family, my family, Ja family. And we were all just hoping for like a better year.
Yes.
And it seems like things have gotten better, even though it's crazy out here.
Yes, yes.
We're not living like how we were before.
Yes.
And I know the people are going to watch this and say, where's the new music? When is it coming? I know a couple of singles dropped. You got some of these guys out here. They're borrowing you for different joints, but the people want you. So can they expect something soon?
1,000,000%.
Okay.
I literally am going to be getting the first edit of the video to the new record.
Okay.
Probably late tonight. So I'm excited about that. The single is mastered and finished. We are hitting all the DSPs.
There we go. There we go.
So I'm very excited about the new record. It's called Falling for You. I co-wrote it with Blue, Young Blue.
Young Blue.
Yeah, he's a
Step it.
beast in the studio.
Nice.
So I'm excited about it.
That's what's up. Wow. So I just want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you, Ashanti. Much, much, much more love to you. Thank you, ASCAP. This has been an incredible experience.
Thank you, Day Tweezy.